What am I doing? Can you guys please? Anyway, at least I got my dog. On that note, what's up, you guys? Hey, what's up? Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Don't Think. This is the podcast for anyone who wants to run away from their own brain. But at the same time you want to run away, you also never want to leave the house, which makes it pretty hard to get a break from your own brain. I mean, you're just staying in the same four walls of your little confinement. Especially if you're like me and you live alone. I spend a lot of time alone. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I'm alone. I go about my day. The only person I talk to at work, I'm putting work in air quotes, is myself and my phone. I spend a lot of time alone. And I need a break from my brain, but I spend a lot of time alone. I love being alone, but at the same time, sometimes I crave leaving my apartment for my mental sanity. And oddly enough, sometimes I miss the camaraderie, if you will, of going into a workplace. I miss being offered a stale English muffin a stale oat cake that somebody made at home. And being like, fuck yeah, I want an oat cake at 9 a.m. And you know what I miss about the office? If someone offers you food, doesn't matter if you want it or not. It's not really a choice. You eat the food. If somebody made food and they brought it to the office, you eat the food and you eat it good. Miss those days. Nobody cooks for me around here. Anyway, today we are talking about social anxiety. And obviously I'm no stranger to social anxiety. I want to start by saying people love to claim that I don't know social anxiety because I talk about it online. And then, of course, at the same time, I do share content of me socializing. And people will be like, excuse me. But the thing is that I don't believe people who have social anxiety necessarily don't socialize at all. That's like being like, oh, I'm scared of flying, so I never ever get on an airplane. People can do things in spite of being scared to do them. And maybe in some cases where it's very severe, some people don't socialize or go out at all due to their social anxiety, which I'm sorry if that's the case for you. That sounds terrible. And I actually did an episode about this. I think it was my second or third episode. It was called Do It Scared. And it was about how kind of early in life I trained myself to do things in spite of the anxiety, because as I mentioned in that episode, I'm scared of a lot of shit. And I always have been. But I don't not do things because I'm scared. And if you want to go back and listen to the episode, I would encourage you to, if any of this is resonating, being scared of everything, but wanting to do shit anyway. If you haven't heard it, it really talks about how the more you do things scared, the less scary they become. Because really your brain is kind of like this algorithm that you're constantly feeding information to and rewiring and coding. And when you do something that you're scared of and it's not scary, your brain's little algorithm learns that. And when you don't do something because you're scared of it, you're just reinforcing it, right? Your brain's algorithm learns that too. It's like, oh, that thing's scary. We can't do that. Let's continue to be scared of it. That makes sense. So do I have social anxiety? Yes. But it shows up differently for me than maybe some of the traditional ways. I think where my social anxiety comes from mostly is my own fear of how people perceive me. And I fucking hate to be perceived, okay? If I'm in public or around anybody, I'm thinking about how I'm being perceived. In fact, even when I'm at home alone sometimes, I'll do something embarrassing and I'm embarrassed of who? The walls are judging me? The fucking plant thinks that me stubbing my toe was embarrassing? That's how much I hate to be perceived. So when I meet new people, whether I want to or not, I become very performative. And I've noticed this more and more over the years. And I've learned that abandoning yourself to perform some kind of act, it's not something that actually helps you grow as a person or feel good about yourself or like yourself. It doesn't help you create a sense of self-worth. But we kind of get into the habit of doing this sometimes, and then it just becomes normal and it's hard to unlearn. I've also learned that putting on a performance, trying to be a people pleaser, trying to be liked by everyone, doesn't actually make you more likable. I actually also have an episode on this called I'm Fine But Only If You Like Me. So go listen to that one too if you haven't yet. But what makes you likable in my experience is actually being yourself. And it's kind of ironic that I feel like I can be myself online and even in my podcast. Much to my dismay, even as I say this, I'm like, it can't be true. People like it. But when I walk into a room full of people that I don't know, or even a room full of people that I do know, I become this sort of people-pleasing shell of a human who's just trying to be bubbly and nice and sweet and smart or fit whatever mold I need to for that particular scenario. I said, when people compliment me or they compliment my personality and I'm like, thanks, but it's yours. Yeah, I'm just a mirror of you and what I thought you would want me to do and what I thought you would want me to say. And obviously that's not always true. The more I get to know people, certain people, the more I find that I can be myself. But what's funny is that I also have friends, like good friends, close friends, people in my life who I've been hanging out with for years, that for whatever reason, I still don't feel like I can fully be myself around. Another thing about social anxiety, how it presents for me, is being extremely indecisive. So somebody invites me to something and I get caught between I want to go because I want them to keep inviting me. And like, I don't want to end up in a position where I don't have any friends because I turn down every invite and they're just like, well, we're not going to invite her anymore. But every time someone asks me to do something and I don't really want to go because I don't feel like putting on my fake personality, I don't feel like doing a show, I'm tired, I just want to stay home in the safety and comfort of my own apartment. I get caught in this, right? And you might be thinking like, that doesn't sound so bad. Just pick one. Do you want to go or do you not want to go? Like, at least you're getting invited places. Yeah, okay, fair. But it's not like that. I will go back and forth trying to pick for hours, for days, like leading up to an event. And this also causes me to become super flaky because I'll say yes to things. I'll be like, oh my God, I'd love to come. I'm so grateful to have been excited to have been invited and included in this. And the closer the event comes, the more anxious I get. 3 weeks out, I'm like, awesome. Yeah, it's in the calendar. Can't wait for that. That'll be fun. 2 weeks out, I'm like, am I sure I really want to go to that? 1 week out, Jesus fucking Christ, how am I getting out of this? And I start overthinking it. Like, what if I don't know anybody? What if something comes up? What if I need to spend time doing something at home or nothing at home? And I just think of every possible reason not to go. I have to stay home and fold laundry. I have to make dinner. Oh, I don't want to drink tonight. What if I'm tired tomorrow? So let's say that I've spent my weeks contemplating whether or not I want to go. And I actually decide that, yes, I am going to go. I am going to go. How is the social anxiety showing up at this point? At this point, it becomes, how am I going to act when I'm there? Who am I going to talk to? And the worst thing in the world is when you're going to an event where you don't really know anybody, but you're showing up alone. And maybe it's like just meeting people at dinner. Maybe it's a work dinner. And I don't know what's worse in these situations, getting there first or getting there last. I do think first is better because then you can kind of just be like scrolling on your phone, looking kind of busy, sipping a drink, maybe, whatever. Other people come in, they come to you. I do think that's the ideal situation, but then you kind of look like an eager loser, which is something to consider. Obviously, showing up with another person is always best. Always best. That's not always possible because sometimes you don't have a friend. Sometimes you get invited to something and God forbid there's no plus one. So let's say you get there last and you're by yourself and you're peeking around corners. You're like, where are they? Where are they? You look so awkward. You feel so awkward. You have to like approach a dinner table as the last person alone after having like peered around the restaurant for 2 minutes that felt like 2 hours and the table's all waving at you. And you walk over and all of a sudden you forget how to walk and you're like, what do I do with my arm? Why do I have arms? What do I do with those? And you just want to look at your phone, but you don't want to be rude. Oh, and that's another thing. Wanting to look at my phone for a little escape. Okay, let's say I get to this event and I'm starting to mingle with people. I'm really doing my best. I've put on my best fake personality. I'm mirroring people the best I possibly can. I want a little break now and then. This is a time that I wish I smoked cigarettes because you can go out, you can get a little bit of fresh air. It's not rude. You know what my cigarette is? Looking at my phone. I want to have a cigarette, aka phone break for a little bit. And people think it's rude. It's not because I'm that addicted to my phone. It's not because, I don't want to talk to you, although sort of it is. It's because I'm awkward. Every 10 minutes, I need a little break. I need a little reset. I'm sweating my balls off trying to pretend I'm a normal person and interact. And I need to recharge. I need a little juice. And where am I going to get that juice? I'm going to get it from my cell phone, my safe place. Let's say I'm at the event. Now, there's something else that we need to address that helps us a lot, which is liquid courage, alcohol. Relying on alcohol when socializing. Again, this is something I have an episode on. If you haven't listened to my episode called Happy Hour Sad Week, check it out. But it's all about alcohol, drinking, how we normalize drinking and encourage it in society, and also the complex relationship between people who have mental illness, anxiety, depression, and how we interact with alcohol. So catch that episode if you haven't. But I think it's something that does very easily become a crutch for those of us who have anxiety, social anxiety, because it's readily available at almost every social function. And it's very integrated into society and culture that we drink. That's how we socialize. Like, imagine if you went to a social function and there wasn't any alcohol. I'd be like, the fuck? You expect us to actually enjoy this sober? It's crazy work. So there's that aspect of it. And then B, at least for me, if I have 2 drinks, I actually feel like a normal person. I don't have to overthink every interaction with every single person. In fact, I actually start to enjoy it. I start to enjoy socializing when I have a few drinks. The scary thing about that is that when you're drinking to kill your anxiety, you tend to overdo it because you're drinking for a purpose, right? And when you're drinking for a purpose, that can be a little dicey. Whether the purpose is killing your social anxiety or trying to get over an ex or trying to drown your sorrows, that's when things tend to get carried away in my experience. It's a tale as old as time, right? You drink to ease your social anxiety, to lube yourself up so you can fit in better and seem like normal amongst the crowd. And then what happens? Oh, one too many. Double that social anxiety, triple it, quadruple it the next day when you wake up and you're like, oh, fuck, it's a little blurry. Like, what did I even do? What did I even say? Who was I talking to? Oh my God, I hate myself. I hate myself. And I want to talk about that in a minute because the social anxiety doesn't end when you leave the event. But speaking of leaving the event, I do have to mention leaving anxiety. Okay? Exit anxiety, if you will. I personally think that the person who invented the Irish exit had crippling anxiety. I don't not say goodbye because I'm rude. I don't say goodbye because I can't fathom the interaction of going around the room, going, oh, I'm going to take off now. Like interrupting someone's conversation, tap them on the shoulder, hey, and they don't hear you the first time and you're just like, oh, is it, I'm leaving. Like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And then, heaven forbid, you get their attention and they say, oh, are you sure you don't want to stay? No, you just got here. Stay. You're going to miss the speech. Yeah, I'm fucking sure I don't want to stay. By the time I get the courage to tell someone I'm leaving, I've been thinking about how and when I could possibly say goodbye. The earliest time I could get out of here for 3 fucking hours since I got here. I walked in scanning for an exit being like, what's my earliest possible out? I started wanting to leave a week before the event happened. So yes, I'm sure I don't want to stay. And people trying to convince you not to leave, like that's one thing I'll never do. If somebody tells me they're leaving a party, they're leaving an event, even if it's my birthday, whatever, they come for an hour, they say I have to leave. Great. In fact, I applaud you for your courage to leave at such an early hour. Like that takes courage and that takes a lot of integrity. And I think it takes a lot of a huge sense of self, if you will. And there's a girl on my soccer team, Allison, love you if you're listening. But I notice this every time she can't make it to soccer, whether it be a week in advance, a day in advance, she lets us know. But there's no fluff. Okay. There's no apology. There's no excuses. I can't make it this week. Sorry, team. I'm out this week. Whoa. What? I'm like, you must have the confidence of, I don't know, like a balding white man in his 40s. For some reason, they always have the most perceived confidence of anyone. But seriously, I'm just like to stand that tall in your convictions, right? Because for me, I'm sitting there typing, erasing the group chat. If anyone's in there, they're probably like, what the, is Carla sitting on her phone? What's going on? I'm like, how am I going to say sorry? How many times should I say sorry? And what kind of excuse should I provide? Should I just say the truth or should I make something up? The truth isn't good enough. Like, when really at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right? Just be who you are. That all aside, you're at the party and you want to leave. You know, for me, every time I'm going to do the Irish exit, okay, not every time. If it's like a small gathering with friends and family or something where it's actually super brutal to do an Irish exit, then I won't. But for the most part, at bigger events, people usually don't even really care. Like the same person that will try to convince you to stay if you say you're leaving would literally not even notice you're gone if you do an Irish exit. And if they do, it won't be for hours later. So I'll do my Irish exit. I'll usually shoot a text to anybody who might perhaps care, which is usually no one, and say I snuck out, whatever. But it's one more thing I want to address before we get into the Don't Think Deep Dive, where I'm going to hear from you guys. The social anxiety after you get home, okay? Because of course it doesn't end at the pre-event or even the during event or even the leaving event anxiety. There is, of course, the aftermath. So you get home. Herbie. You get home and you think, good for me, I've done it. But no, you haven't done it. Now it's time for the performance review. I'm sitting there. I'm like, fuck. I think I said gruel instead of great because I tried to say great and cool at the same time. I said gruel. Now that person's going to think I'm an idiot. Like as if somebody's actually gone home and they're going to say to their wife, yeah, it was a great event, but Carla said gruel. So I'm never going to work with her. Never going to hire her. I've known her for 10 years, but she said fucking gruel. So what an idiot. And he and his wife are going to sit down and laugh about it and make fun of me and like open my Instagram and be like, idiot, fuck? She's a girl. Like, nobody cares, right? But I'm going to sit there and I'm going to performance review the fuck out of my performance for an hour. I'm going to be thinking like, why did no one text me to say that it was nice to see me? What? And that's another, if somebody texts you after you've hung out with them, whether it be one-on-one, an event, whatever, and says, it was so great to see you, we should catch up again soon. I don't care if I ever see you again, but thank you so much. That text is an absolute blessing, because now I'm sitting there. I'm like, I did a good thing. I did a good job. I did it. Nobody was mad at me. I haven't embarrassed myself. It's the same as this podcast. Every single week I go, this is the episode no one's going to like, including this one as I record it right now. I'm like, this is shit. No one's going to like it. And then I get one message the day that the episode comes out, whether it be from my mom, who you would think is biased, but I think she would tell me if it sucked. She's quite honest. But whoever, a friend, whatever, a random person, somebody who follows me on Instagram, and they'll be like, love this week's episode. And I go, oh my God. And like, the anxiety is pretty much erased. All you need is that one little bit of validation. You need one person to be like, it was great to see you. You seem like you're doing really well. And you're like, oh my God, wow. Excellent performance. 100% an act, not doing well at all. But the social anxiety, it feels endless. It's not just before you go. It's not just while you're there. It's after. It's all around the clock. And I know I'm making it sound like social anxiety is a terminal condition, which sometimes it feels like it is. But there are things that can help. And these are some of the tricks that I've learned throughout the years of my life. Exposure therapy, if you will. If I want to bail completely, I'll still force myself to go, but I'll just set a limit. Like, I'm only going to go for half an hour. Just enough to prove to my brain that I'm not going to die if I do something social. And most of the time, like, I end up enjoying it. As I say that, I'm like, maybe not most of the time, but I think most of the time I don't regret going, because even if I don't enjoy it, getting out of the house makes me feel more normal. Another thing I like to do is planning my exit line before I go. So this is a reason I love having a dog, because I'll just be like, oh, Herbie's home alone. I've got to get home. And that's on the times that I don't do the Irish exit. Obviously, if it's a small group setting, you can't just Irish exit. Like, that's great for a bigger event, but have a little escape plan, right? Maybe it's just, I have a very early morning tomorrow. So whatever, have it in the back pocket. What really helps me is to remind myself that people are either as self-conscious as I am, or if they're not, surely as fuck not thinking about me, right? No one's actually watching me as closely as my brain says they are. They're too busy worrying about themselves and their own performance. Do you think other people go home and they give a performance review of everyone else? No, we're all going home and performance reviewing ourselves. I don't go home and think like, man, so-and-so was looking pretty awkward. I'm too busy. I'm flat out booked and busy thinking about myself critically. I'm sweating from my palms being like, fuck, I'm never leaving my house again. I don't have time to think about other people, and other people probably don't have time to think about me. So yeah, social anxiety, it kind of feels like this lifelong group project with your own brain, where you're both the only member and also the only person getting blamed every time it goes wrong. But I wish I could say that I have mastered this and that I no longer have any social anxiety. I think probably quite clear from everything I just said, I do have social anxiety. It's just that I'm trying to get better at noticing when I'm abandoning myself to make other people comfortable, or when I'm spiraling in a situation where it's just not necessary. And I think the more you can just learn to accept that, like, you can't please everybody all the time. Like, that just hurts coming out of my mouth, but it's true. The more you just learn to accept, you just have to be yourself and just wear it on the chin that some people aren't going to like you. That helps me when it comes to socializing. Some days I do just stay home. Okay. Some days it means I'm not going anywhere. I don't care. Some days it means I show up for half an hour. Both are fine. But I am curious how it shows up for you guys, because I feel like everybody's flavor of social anxiety is slightly different. I hope you guys relate to this, because it's always, when you relate, it makes me feel less crazy. But so for this week's Don't Think Deep Dive, I wanted to know whether or not you guys actually enjoy social events once you get there, or does the anxiety just never go away? Because for me, it's a bit of both. It's a bit of both. So let's get into it. See what you guys had to say for yourselves. So let's hear from Caroline.
Hi. So personally, my social anxiety does not appear too much prior to an event. If anything, I make up scenarios in my head and conversations. And in those scenarios, I'm super cool and everything goes well. And if anything, I'm excited about the event. I'm super hyped. And then I get to whatever social event, and sure enough, those scenarios do not unfold. And that's when I panic a bit and I stop talking and I retreat because I feel unprepared, basically, and I feel out of place. And that's when my anxiety really kicks in and I regret going out at all. And I just do my Irish exit at that point. So that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Carolyn. The Irish exit. There it is. I love that. I love that you have like high hopes for yourself and you go into an event having, I don't know, I almost want to call it manifesting great conversations. That to me sounds more enjoyable than the opposite, which is sitting around at home being like, I'm a loser, I can't do it, and then going and also not being able to do it. In fact, you may think you're failing when you actually get there because it's not going exactly how you planned, but nothing ever goes exactly as you planned in life. So that doesn't mean you're failing. I would guess that you probably do better at those events because you sit at home imagining scenarios where it goes really well. And like, I'd be curious to see what the difference would be if you sat around thinking the opposite and then went. I bet you this is doing you more good than you even realize, but feel you on the Irish exit. I knew that was going to come up. Let's hear from Steven.
Pretend that everybody likes you, and then also pretend that you already know everybody, and you start every conversation as if you're picking up from some imaginary place you left off. And then it turns out pretty fun, and people are really receptive, and then it doesn't feel so daunting. Coming from somebody who is diagnosed anxious, so yeah.
I feel like you should be a politician. Is that what they're doing? This is what people who are good at socializing are doing. I'm actually memorizing this trick. I love that. Pick up a conversation or start a conversation as though you're picking it up with an old friend. I actually do this sometimes because when I'm introduced to somebody and I can't remember if I've met them or not before, I'll just go, nice to see you. Not nice to see you again, and not nice to meet you. Because either of those could be wrong. Nice to see you? Fault me. Try to fault me for that one. It is nice to see you. I don't know if I'm seeing you again or if I'm seeing you for the first time, but either way, nice. And so sometimes when I say that, I'll get like back from the person. They'll kind of be like, oh, like, have we met before? Or like, nice to see you. And I'll be like, oh my gosh, yeah, we go way back. And then the person introducing us will be like, wait, you guys know each other? And then we start this little, like, if the person's cool and funny, we'll get this little riff going, like this little kind of sketch, if you will, where we're like, yes, like, of course, we've known each other for 15 years. And then the person who introduced us is like, what the fuck? It's just, and then all of a sudden, I'm not a loser. I'm cool. I'm funny. I've got jokes. I am the entertainment at this event. Thank you, Stephen, though. I actually love that advice, and I hope that I get to go to an event soon where I can try it. No, I don't. No, I don't. I have some Christmas parties coming up, so. All right, let's hear from Ian.
Okay, so it really depends on if I wanted to go, if I like the people there. If it's something I'm interested in, then yeah, it's cool once I'm there. Normally fine, and then annoyingly, I realise I had a good time and I should do that more when I leave. If it's something that I said yes to because I felt I couldn't say no and I really don't want to go, no, I absolutely hate every second that I'm there. Also, don't make me use my voice to talk about anxiety.
Thanks, Ian. That makes so much sense. First of all, though, I could hardly pay attention because I liked your accent. I need to get out more, but I hear a English, British, UK accent and I'm like, oh my God. Whoa. But that is so funny because this is what I'm talking about with abandoning yourself and not abandoning yourself, because it's like, it should be that simple, right? If I say yes to something that I want to go to, then yeah, I'll probably end up having a good time. If I say yes to something I don't want to go to, then I won't have a good time. Unfortunately for me, it's just not that simple because I will anxiety spiral my way into a muddled confusion pit of not knowing whether or not I actually want to go. At first, it seems so clear. And then I start overthinking. And I'm like, oh my fuck, do I want to go? Do I not want to go? Am I going to regret going? Am I going to regret not going? Like, you wouldn't believe the indecision crisis that I'll get myself into. Just last night, I had tickets to go to Neptune Theatre, which is a theater in Halifax. They were putting on The Wizard of Oz. And they reached out and invited me, and I was like, that sounds like so much fun. Like, I love The Wizard of Oz. It was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. And then, of course, the closer it got, I was like, no, I don't want to. And last night it was feeling like 14 p.m. at 2, and I was like, I've watched the sunset on my lunch break. Okay. I'm tired. I woke up at 11 and had to have a nap at 3. I couldn't possibly go out tonight. I'm sick. I started being like, I'm sick. I don't feel good. I'm not sick. I'm mentally ill. That's for sure. And I was about to bail. I truly was. And then I went, and I was like, I was so happy that I went. Did I leave halfway through the show? Yes. Not because it wasn't a good show, but because I hit my limit. My back hurt. I can't sit upright in a chair for fucking 3 hours. Are you kidding me? I got to get to the chiropractor. Something's wrong. But no, it was wonderful. I really did enjoy the show. It was a great production, and I did cry at one point. It brought tears to my eyes. Somewhere Over the Rainbow. It's gonna get me every time. But I was just like, wow, look at these people on stage, and they're doing something they love, and they're probably going to go for beer after, and they're like, it's just so beautiful, and it was touching and moving, and I was so happy I went. But did I know that I wanted to go? Nuh-uh. I had no idea. Let's take one more call, because I love hearing from you guys. There's so many good ones. I don't even know. Oh my gosh, I want to do this. Okay, let's hear from December. That stood out to me because that's such a cool name. And it's spelled Decymber. Wow, that is a cool name. If you're not famous, you should be.
So, as someone who has anxiety and hates going out of my house, like I hate leaving, I hate going anywhere where there is people, which is anywhere you go. My anxiety does not get better. It just gets worse, and then I get irritated and overwhelmed, and I just want to go home. So, yeah, to answer your question, it doesn't get better. It just gets worse. And, yeah, I just like being at home, and I prefer being away from people.
I'm sorry, December. That sucks. Like, I get it. It's not always as simple as exposure therapy and just go do it and just do it scared. I know it's not always that easy. Yeah, I wish I had some really great advice, but I think it's so hard because I personally find that when I do force myself to do something I don't think I'm going to want to do, it's 50-50, like, on whether or not I enjoy it. And so to hear somebody who every time the social anxiety just ruins it for you, like, of course that's going to make you eventually just want to stop putting yourself in that situation because it's not enjoyable for you. So I hate to hear that. I really don't know what the solution is there. Hopefully, you've explored some options, therapy, medication. Those are things that maybe could be good tools. But again, I know those things don't always work. So thank you for sharing that, though. It was really nice to get kind of a different range of different perspectives on this, because I know it is different for everybody, like I said. And I do in fact recognize and appreciate the irony of me asking people with social anxiety to send me voice notes. A few people did say, like, what the hell? You're asking people with anxiety to send you voice messages. And I'm like, yeah, well, I have anxiety. I'm doing a full fucking 30 minutes a week on a podcast. So you guys can do this for me. But I do love you guys. As always, thank you so much for sending those in. I know that it sucks to hear your own voice. I know. On that note, thank you so much for joining today. Please like, rate, follow, leave a review. I'm saying it like that because I know at the end of every podcast, when I hear those words, they mean nothing to me. So I'm just going to drive it home. Leave a review. But please do leave a review. And I'll see you guys next Thursday. Until then, don't think too much. If you do, at least you're in good company. Bye.